Welcome to People Pleasers Anonymous. This is a space for people who have spent years carrying everyone else's emotions, people who spent years solving everyone else's problems, rescuing everyone else's crises, and then wondering why they're exhausted. If you're a person who has been carrying everyone else's emotions like me, solving everyone else's problems, being a Captain Save-A-Ho and rescuing everyone else from their crises, and being exhausted as a result of it, this room is for you. Tonight we're talking about something that sounds simple, but it can be extremely difficult. Why do boundaries feel mean? Why do boundaries feel mean? Why do so many kind-hearted people like myself feel guilty when they say no? If you've ever said yes while your soul was screaming no, if you've ever overextended yourself because you don't want someone upset with you, if you've ever felt physically anxious about setting a boundary, tonight's conversation is for you. All right, let's start with a community check-in tonight. Fill in the blank and I'll read it out for those of us who are in attendance and those who listen later. I feel most guilty saying no when? When do you feel most guilty saying no? I feel most guilty saying no when? Sway feels most guilty saying no when she wants to say yes. Tara feels like she's most guilty when folks need her to do the thing or perceive that she should be able to do the thing. Anybody else? I feel most guilty saying no when? I feel most guilty saying no when someone has been kind to me. I am working out of this, but I'm a person that people could love bomb and compliment and be nice to. And I felt like because they've been nice to me or because they've been my friend for 20 years, I gotta say yes to them. I used to be able to be love bombed. And boy, oh boy, will people try to love bomb you or give you all the compliments. Dr. Flo, you're so amazing. Dr. Flo, you're great. Oh, that dress looks so good. Oh, those shoes look amazing. Oh, look at your beard. Your beard is so amazing. Can I get a favor? Have you ever put a one in the chat if people have ever love bombed you or complimented you only so they could ask for something? I feel most guilty saying no when I feel like saying no is going to be disloyal to kindness. Okay? I see you, Angie. All right, here's a couple follow-up questions to get us primed tonight. Who taught y'all what a good person looks like? Who taught y'all what a good person looks like? Who was the first person that taught you what a good person looks like? We all have this concept of good and bad. My father, may he rest in power and or piss, he didn't believe in a lot of good people. He believed that the Lord was good, but my father was very paranoid of people. Every bit of my paranoia that I get comes from my dad. Good people were church people, even though we now know the truth about church people, but that's for Sunday nights at 7. But my father, good people were at the church, but everybody else was dangerous. Let me know in the chat. Were boundaries respected in your home growing up? Were boundaries respected in your home? I come from well, I'll let y'all answer first. No, says Sway. Tara says somewhat. Were you all allowed to have closed doors and locked doors as children? I'm curious. We weren't allowed to have closed doors as children. There's no privacy for children. Boundaries were just expected without communication. Kyle says no. All right. Now, final icebreaker question and community check-in. What emotions come up for you when you disappoint someone? What emotions come up for you when you disappoint someone in your life? And once again, we talked about this with Sway earlier in the lobby. We are all capable of disappointing people. All of us are capable of disappointing someone. What emotions come up when you disappoint someone? Sure, it's a shame. Sweet says feeling like I'm never enough. For me, it's getting better, but when I disappoint someone, I feel like I'm always going to disappoint that type of person, or that everything I'm doing is a disappointment. I have an issue where if I disappoint one person, I assume that everybody around me feels that same disappointment. Tara says guilt and sadness. So I've often held myself back from the dreams I want, because if I'm a disappointment to my friend, or if I'm a disappointment to my family, or if I'm a disappointment to my lover, then I certainly would have to be a disappointment to my boss or someone new that I met, right? My parents were consistently disappointed in me as a child, even though I made great grades. I was well behaved according to, most standards. But because they didn't feel pleased with me, and my father didn't feel pleased with me because he wasn't pleased with himself, right? I automatically assumed that people in the community felt the same way. They did not. People in the community loved me and adored me. I feel like I disappointed myself when I disappoint someone. Yeah. Like you let yourself down. Many people were trained to believe that boundaries are rejection. Many people learned that saying yes equals love, that sacrifice equals goodness, that compliance equals kindness, that self-abandonment equals virtue. And as a result, when they say no, their nervous system reacts as if they've committed some type of moral failure. But saying no is not rejection. Saying no is information. A boundary says, this works for me. This doesn't work for me. I have limits. I'm a human being. I'm not a machine. I'm not a resource. I'm not an emotional support animal. Dr. Flo is not an emotional support animal. And I'm not an unlimited supply of labor. Okay? And once again, Saying no is not rejection. Saying no is information. What messages about saying no did you receive growing up? I'll go last. What messages about saying no did you receive growing up? Anybody else? I wasn't allowed to say no. Because my parents were providing food, clothing, and shelter, I had to comply to everything they said. Because I'm taking care of you and because I'm the parent, you don't get to say no. So he said I said no at school since I could not say no at home. Understood. That's real. Were you punished for having needs? Were you punished for having needs? Miss Pinky, you're asking about my parents or your parents? Who's the they? That's my question, a clarifying question. Who's the they? What did they ask you to do? Chores, clean up? And Space says, yes, I was punished for having needs. If you've been around for a while, you've heard the stories about me needing glasses in the 3rd grade and how my dad turned that into a need for attention. How I fell off the monkey bars in the 2nd grade and I basically had to have a broken arm for the night because he refused to take me to the emergency room because he thought I was craving attention. Having a need is different than craving attention. So he says, I got kicked out at 18 for setting boundaries. But you didn't set it the right way. Let's talk for a moment now about how guilt is not always evidence of wrongdoing. One of the biggest recovery lessons that we can learn is that feeling guilty doesn't automatically mean that you did something wrong. I'm gonna say that one more time. Feeling guilty, and we all feel guilty from time to time, even still, I still feel guilty from time to time. It doesn't automatically mean that you did something wrong. Sometimes guilt means that you're doing something unfamiliar. And many people mistake discomfort for wrongdoing. Here's some examples of times that you can feel guilty even though you didn't do something wrong. The first time you start charging people what you're worth. The first time you decline an invitation. The first time you end a toxic relationship. The first time that you refuse to rescue someone. Your nervous system will say, danger. But the reality is that you're growing. Are you in danger? Or are you growing? You don't have to give anybody your number if you don't want to. There are men everywhere. Don't you see them roaming? They're everywhere. If you're not feeling it, you're not feeling it. Men are like trains. Men are like trains. If you miss one, another one will certainly come. Okay? Have you ever felt guilty for something that was actually choo choo? Choo choo. Choo choo. Have you ever felt guilty for something that was actually healthy? Have you ever felt guilty for something that was actually healthy? Tell us about it. Tara says staying away from certain people who were or are damaging to her. Ending a friendship that was toxic. I found at times that ending friendships often made me feel more guilty than ending romantic relationships. Ooh, let's push forward into this major teaching point. The people who benefited from your lack of boundaries may not like your new ones. This is where our recovery gets real. Some people loved a version of you that never said no. Some people loved the version of you that never challenged them. The version of yourself that never asked for reciprocity, and the person who never had limits. This happens often because it's not that they loved you, it's because they loved having access to you. And when that access changes, people sometimes complain. That doesn't mean your boundary is wrong. It means that the relationship dynamic is changing. And a lot of people have a lot of fear because what's going to happen if I change the dynamic in my relationship? We've talked about this week after week. We talked about it in the people-pleasing rooms. We talked about it in the creatives and recovery rooms. We talked about it in the church hurt and healing rooms. This feeling that we have that we might be abandoned and that relationship dynamics can change will often keep people in toxic situations longer than they want to be there. A lot of people feel as if their relationships with people are very paper thin. If one thing goes amiss, perhaps that person will walk out of my life forever and I'll never talk to them again, and I'm not sure that I can survive that. People losing access to you and complaining about it, it doesn't mean that your boundary is wrong. It means that the relationship dynamic is changing, and if they can't move with that dynamic change, they may not be the person for you. I'm gonna drop this in the chat and pin it so that it resonates with you and you can screenshot it for later if you want to meditate on this. The people who call you selfish may simply be frustrated that they no longer have unlimited access to your energy. Put a 1 in the chat if you've ever been called selfish after telling a person, I'm not texting you back all the time. I'm not responding to everything. I'm not answering the phone when you call. People get mad. I have not answered the phone for anybody in over a decade. People don't call me There are people in the room who I love very much who have never heard me say hello. There are people in the room who I'm very close to who've never seen me go, hello, what's up? I don't answer the phone. Y'all have known me for months and years on TikTok. You've never heard my phone ring. You've never heard my phone ring. People say, oh, you're arrogant. You're full of yourself. Who do you think you are, Dr. Flo? Who do you think you are, Dr. Flo? You didn't answer my call. Don't worry about it. Especially when people meet me new to the network and I'm always recruiting and bringing new people into the network. They say, who do you think you are, Dr. Flo? Dr. Flo, you didn't answer the phone when I called. Dr. Flo, I text messaged you and you didn't respond. I don't respond to all text messages. And I haven't answered the phone in over 10, 11, 12 years. If that makes me selfish, it could be that you're a person who's frustrated that you don't have unlimited access to my energy. My energy is mine. I get to decide who I want to give that energy to. Let that sit. I get to decide who I give my energy to. The people who mind don't matter, and the people who matter don't mind. And then they get really mad when I say, I'm on TikTok 2 to 3 times a day. Come by and say hi. Talk to the community. Come into that love. What I can't be on the... There's one guy, oh God, let me not call a name. There's one guy who was new to the community. He said, I want to call you real quick when I get out of the gym. This is a person who I knew would try to keep me on the phone for 3 hours. I don't have time for 3-hour conversations for you to tell me your whole life story so we can be best friends. Come to TikTok. Get to know the community. Allow me to get to know you. Perhaps there's something I can provide, but I'm not hanging out talking about misery with y'all for 3 hours. You don't have to give people unlimited access to your energy. Question for the chat. Has anyone ever reacted negatively when you created a healthy boundary? Has anyone ever reacted negatively when you created a healthy boundary? Healthy boundaries for me are like that guy on the street. If any of you have been catcalled or hit on in public, there are certain kind of dudes who will say, hey, girl. Or if you're in Atlanta, yo, bruh, can I get your number? And you're like, no. And they're like, ugh, fine, you ugly bitch. Anybody ever had that? Oh, there it is. Sway. Jinx. 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 They do not like it. What happened, Sway? What happened? What happened? Yeah, mostly people, there are people, and Sway, you'll see, if you hang around long enough, Angie's seen it already. Angie's been around for years. There are people who you're going to see in these TikTok rooms in the network for a couple weeks. You may see them for a couple months, and then you'll never see them again. You know? You won't see them again because they're going to eventually think that I'm full of myself for only relating to them in a healing environment. Because I don't treat anything like it's an emergency. Because if it's truly an emergency, I don't live in Texas, I don't live in Ohio, I don't live in Pennsylvania. A true emergency needs to be handled by your local law enforcement or firefighters. A true emergency. Your ER nurses can get to you way quicker than I can. But people will try to step into your life and act like what they're going through is an emergency. I know that's right. Anything you can do, I can do better. I'm sorry you lost the friend. And I love that you put it in air quotes, KM, because once again, if they turn on you because you set a healthy boundary, that's a person who doesn't want to prioritize your health. I'm telling you that I want to do this not to be rude to you or disrespectful to you. I'm telling you that, like, this is a healthy boundary. This is what I need. I've taken the time to understand what I need, and you don't want to honor that. So you're not committed to my healthiness. We have to be very, very careful of people who don't want us to be in our wholeness and centered and balanced in ourselves. They're not our friends. They're not our friends. Every time, not every time. I had relationships that were purely based on us talking shit about other people or complaining about our lives. The moment I decided that complaining about my life and talking shit about other people, because, everybody loves a little, there are people who love a little pocket gay, like a pocket poodle that loves to, like, people love that. But when I stopped doing that because it didn't make me feel good, I lost a lot of friends. Let's talk now about how boundaries protect relationships. Boundaries protect relationships. Many people believe that boundaries destroy relationships, but the opposite is often true. Without boundaries, resentment grows, burnout grows, exhaustion grows, secret anger grows. But boundaries allow for honesty. A healthy relationship can survive the word no. An unhealthy relationship often cannot. Real love does not require self-erasure. I'm going to read this one more time from my notes. Real love does not require self-erasure. You do not have to erase yourself for the people who love you truly. Which relationship in your life would improve if you communicated more honestly? Which relationship would improve? And thank y'all for doing the heart work tonight. This is what I'm doing with my life for the next 25 years. We are going to the heart of the matter. If some of you want to work with me personally, there is a fee. But if you want to work with me personally and talk through these things without having an audience on your shit, I do have sliding scale and open availability for that. But I thank y'all for showing up on TikTok and being bold in this public forum and class and talking about how to have healthy boundaries and to love yourself through people pleasing. Cam says, my marriage, honestly. I remember that eggshell feeling of, I don't want to deal with the conversations or the days of conversations or the months of conversations that are going to happen if I bring up this bothersome element of my marriage. I remember that. Oh, they don't. That's why we got 4 people in here. We got 4 people in here because if they sit in here for too long, they may have to have an honest conversation with themselves and with the room. And there are a lot of people who do not want to do the honesty thing. There are 4 requirements to be part of Love in Action Network, and it's a doozy. Y'all do it well in the room, but to be around Love in Action Network and to be in the midst of what we're doing here, you got to be honest, open, willing, and available. And a lot of people don't want to be honest, open, willing, and available. If you don't hit those 4 marks, you're going to be very uncomfortable here because we're talking about communicating and working towards harmony with people that are in our lives for a very, very long time. We're talking about communicating more honestly as a cure for private thoughts and resentment. Because that's what really happens. If you don't communicate more honestly or come out with it or set aside time to communicate more honestly and openly, it creates a breeding ground for resentment, either within yourself or within both people. There was a time in my marriage where I had to literally give him like 2 to 3 weeks advance notice before I could communicate honestly. It sucked, but it was necessary. I know that you don't like pop-up conversations, you know. Yeah, you may not want to have that. You may not want to walk in the room and bust the room up and like, we need to talk about something, motherfucker. Like, you may not want to do that. You may want to say, when the time is right, could we set aside time to have a conversation that's really important to me? And like I said, these days I can bring up something that's bothering me or something that needs to be addressed. I can bring it up in the moment. But at the very beginning, I'd have to tell him, in the next 2 weeks, can we have a conversation? Men don't like that can we talk type situation. Men don't like that. Yeah. Because here's the deal. You want to communicate the things you want to communicate in honesty, but if you're not in the container where a person can receive it, you could create a very volatile and toxic environment. People have to be in a posture of heart and in a physical space to be able to hear your truth. You roll up on somebody with your truth and they're not in a posture or an energy to receive it. That's how you get defensive people. And people do not want to hear you when they are defensive. And I know you want to say your piece, but the person's not, so I'd have to wait, which was annoying, but I would have to wait until he was in the mood and then say, you come to me. This is important to me, so we can't let this go. And be very clear, this is not going away. This is not going away. So when you're ready over the next, and make it time bound. Make it time bound. This is not going away. So in the next week or two, when things let up for you, because these humans, our husbands and our partners and our wives and our loved ones and our fuck buddies, they have heavy things going on in their lives too. I love that one of my good friends and soul siblings, Joyous, she mentioned in a room that we had one night, we're all carrying heavy things. And sometimes when you're carrying something heavy from work or from life or bills or responsibility, you don't want a conversation with your partner to be just one more thing on top of the heavy things. So the language is, when you get a moment of reprieve or when things lighten up for you, I'm going to leave the door open for you to come to me so that I can tell you something that's on my heart. Sway says, I'm okay with setting boundaries. I just want to work on making it easier to digest. I don't know about easier to digest, but I can give you a prompt. I love myself. Therefore, I need to share this with you. I'm not too concerned with the digestion. I'm not too concerned with the digestion. I love myself, therefore there's something I need to say to you. Our delivery of our truth has nothing to do with the other person. Maybe you want to set an intention to not hurt their feelings or degrade them or demean them or devalue them or, you know, leave emotional damage. You could make the agreement to not leave emotional damage on the person, right? Maybe that's an agreement. I'm going to have this conversation, but I'm not going to be a dick about it. I'm going to have this conversation, but I'm not going to be rude. But hey, beloved, I love myself, so I need to tell you something. Having the desire is the first step to it happening. There's a book that I could recommend to you that I love, and it's on YouTube as well. Hit the button down below, Sway, on the screen. You should see a button where you can DM me. DM me the word book recommendation, although I'm going to tell you right now what it is. And the whole audiobook is on YouTube for free. Let me see if it lets me copy and paste this. All right, that's fine. That's fine. The book is called, and just DM me later if you want. Just say, Dr. Flo, what's the book on communication? It's on you, and I'll send you the YouTube video as well. And if you want me to get it for you so that you can have it personally, I know a guy who knows a guy. The book is called The Art of Communicating, A Study in Mindful Communication in Buddhist Practice. And it's by Thich Nhat Hanh. And it's so good. It's so good. So if you're out there, y'all, and you are trying to learn how to communicate better and more effectively, try Thich Nhat Hanh's The Art of Communicating, a study of mindful communication in Buddhist practice. It's so good. And like I said, I can send you the YouTube, or I can send you the video if you want me to bootleg it for you. I'm Robin Hood in this bitch. I know how to get everything I need. And when I say everything I need, everything I need. I know how to get. I told y'all, great sex, great food, great adventures, great rest, and great income. I know how to get everything I need. Okay? But yeah, I would recommend that book to you if you are looking to, and here I'll pin it. Screenshot it. The Art of Communicating, a study of mindful communication in Buddhist practice. It's so good. I use principles from that book every day on my live streams and in my coaching and counseling practice. I'll give you a little teaser. When someone comes to you in emotional disturbance or emotional instability, or when someone comes to you in deep suffering, one of the most powerful things you can say to a person who's in deep suffering that comes to you is, I'm here for you. Because more than your words, people need your presence. More than your words. Right now, people need our presence. Thich Nhat Hanh. Let's do a boundary reframe. Instead of saying to yourself, I'm being mean, try, I'm being honest. Instead of I'm letting them down, try, I'm being realistic. Instead of I'm selfish, try, I'm respecting my limits. Instead of they'll be upset, try, they are responsible for their emotions. This goes back up top where Sway was talking about wanting to make it easier for people to digest what she says. Write this down, Sway. They are responsible for their emotions. People feel all types of way when they bounce off of me on TikTok and in real life. I can see them squirming sometimes on video camera. I can see them sometimes squirming in real life. They are responsible for their own emotions. That takes so much pressure off of you because people want you to perform for them and make them feel good. I'm not responsible for making y'all feel good tonight. Those of you who are in the space tonight, you're responsible for your own emotions. I got a job to do. It's to do this fucking talk and to do this recovery space and to hopefully say something that you can take away that will benefit your life. I am not responsible for your emotions. And a lot of people would be set free if they started telling people in their lives this shit. It's not that I don't care about what you're going through. It's that I'm not responsible for the emotions that you have and what you're going through. You're responsible. This is why we have the pillars in Love and Action Network of encourage, equip, and empower. My responsibility is to encourage you, to equip you, and to empower you to live the best of your life as a bold dreamer here. That's my responsibility. But how these words land on you, and y'all see it all the time. Sway's been around long enough. People will come in and be like, shit, like, you gotta let that shit go. That's your past. It happened to you a year ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago. But you're gonna have to let that shit go so you can move into your future. You're gonna have to forgive everything in your past. You're gonna have to forgive your entire past. You're gonna have to forgive those people in your past, and you're gonna have to forgive the past version of yourself. You're gonna have to forgive the past version of yourself to get where you want to go. You're gonna have to do it. There's no way around it. You're gonna have to forgive the past version of yourself. You're gonna have to do it. But what about what they did to me? What they said? Come back when you're done with your tantrum. Some of them never come back. Most recently, trigger warning to the room. Most recently, I told someone that they would have to move past their SA. Someone had been violent with their body temple. Someone had taken advantage of their body temple. And for those of us who've had our body temples taken advantage of, that is a brokenness and something that is very hard to repair. When another human decides that they want to do something to your body that they're not supposed to do, that is an extreme violation of trust. It can really create a deep wound that will have you bleeding all over yourself and all over the place. You're gonna have to accept it. Say, this is part of my story, and move on. Oh Lord, I told her to move on. She was like, what kind of friend are you? How dare you? What kind of spiritual healer are you? It's hard, Kyle, but it's not impossible. It's hard, but it's not impossible. Got to start looking for examples of people who had their physical temple violated and chose to begin again. You know? I'm one of them. I said, no, I don't want this. And the person kept going. It's like they were in a trance and completely zoned out and just took full advantage of my body in a very aggressive, painful way. I don't want to live thinking about that and letting that run the show for the rest of my life. I have to accept that it happened and start moving forward. I'm gonna talk now, and I didn't plan to talk about this, but look up the work of Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and the stages of grief. And in the stages of grief, you're going to go through denial of what happened to you, anger about it happening, bargaining, trying to negotiate your way out of the pain or reverse the loss. Like all of us have gone through this, where you're going to try to say that was not supposed to happen to me. I'm mad about that happening to me, and if that didn't happen to me, how would my life be different? If my trust wasn't violated like that, I could be living this way and this way and this way, and I wouldn't be addicted to this, and I wouldn't be addicted to that, and I wouldn't be acting out in these ways, right? You're going to bargain, okay? You're going to have these if-only statements, if-only statements, okay? Then you're going to go through the depression. And then eventually, you're going to move into a place of acceptance. It doesn't mean that we move on from what happened to us and how we were violated. It doesn't mean that we're okay with what happened. It means that we acknowledge the permanent reality of the situation. We were harmed. That is a permanent reality. It's not going to go away, no matter how hard we try to avoid it. It's a permanent reality. And then you're going to try to do your best. And fuck the word try. You're going to commit to living your new normal. What's the new normal? It doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. It's a part of your experience. It's not the whole. But some people will start to play that tape over and over again. And, even in my childhood, there were instances where the adults should have been more protective and a lot of unfavorable things happened. I could say because of those things happening, I am eternally fucked. I could make those things mean that I'm not deserving of love and intimacy. I could make those things cause me to go into deep self-loathing, self-hatred, and sabotage. Or I could get clear about what I want my new normal to be. Start journaling, Kyle, about what you want your new normal and your new life to look like. This is why we talk in this community about quantum field awareness. See yourself as the future version of yourself. Perhaps that version of you is not ruminating over the past. Perhaps that new version of you has all sorts of other things going on, and you have surrendered to the idea that the past could not have been any different than it was. What's the lesson? What's the lesson? Which reframe did y'all most need tonight? Was it the boundary reframe? I'm being mean turns into I'm being honest. I'm letting them down turns into I'm being realistic. I'm selfish turns into I'm respecting my limits. Or they'll be upset turns into they're responsible for their emotions. Kyle is further along than he thinks he is because you have to name a thing to heal a thing. And so being able to name the emotion and to name the harm gives you power over the harm. I did many years of therapy and training so that I was able to speak up about the things that harmed me. Once you tell someone how you were violated or harmed, it no longer has power over you. Okay? Once you speak up and say, I was harmed in this way, I was touched in this way, I was violated in this way, I was mishandled emotionally or physically in this way. Once you say it out loud to someone, you gain power over it. You cannot heal what is not spoken. And it's not that you need to tell everybody what you're going through, but you do need to communicate it to people who are safe. Sway loved the reframe of I'm responsible for my emotions. And not only are you responsible for your emotions, but they are as well. Okay? It's not being rude and ridiculous to everybody. It's just about understanding, as we say in People Pleasers Anonymous almost every day, give me the serenity to accept what's mine to carry and what's not mine to carry. That's my prayer. In this room and in life, I'm always asking, or as often as I can remember, because there's no such thing as always, but I'm always seeking to try to pay attention to what's mine to carry and what's not mine to carry. And if it's not yours to carry and you're clear that it's not yours to carry, put it down. Let's land this thing by talking about how a boundary is not a wall. A wall says nobody gets in. And we've met some people this week that were talking about how nobody gets in. Dr. Flo, I don't date. I don't make friends. I don't go to new places. I don't do anything. Nobody's getting in because I've got this wall up. I've got this closed heart posture. A wall says nobody gets in. A boundary says this is how I need to be treated. A wall is fear. A boundary is clarity. A wall disconnects. A boundary creates healthier connection. You can be loving and have boundaries. You can be generous and have boundaries. You can be compassionate and have boundaries. You can be a good person and still say no. All right, y'all. We're going to complete these 3 sentences together and then we'll do our closing affirmation. Thank y'all for hanging on tonight. This is amazing. I hope that there was some clarity and empowerment in the room tonight. All right, fill in the blank. One place I need a stronger boundary is. One place I need a stronger boundary is. Yes, Kyle. Yes to your awesome. Yes to your future. Yes to your bright, joyous, and secure. Yes to your bright, joyous, and secure. Bright, joyous, and secure. Bright, joyous, and secure. One place I need a stronger boundary is, and y'all see me, I'm out here every day. We 7 days a week. We focus on healing and recovery, and hopefully it is empowering to you. What you focus on grows. What you focus on grows. One place I need a stronger boundary, Sway is saying, I need to remove some walls and add boundaries to my relationships. Yeah, that's great. If you want to go deeper privately, just let me know. I know that I'm always out here on TikTok, but if you want to have a private conversation, you haven't done a discovery with me yet. So if you ever want to get on a 25-minute call with me and just talk about the quiet parts out loud, I'm good for that. First round is always on me. Okay. One place that Kyle needs a stronger boundary is communication and consistency. Yeah. Once again, I love myself, therefore I. Whatever comes after the I love myself, therefore I, that's going to start pushing you towards what you really want. You're not trying to get out of tough spots or trying to get away from things. You are moving towards the things that are indicative or examples of ways in which you love yourself. We're making these choices of sobriety or of new relationships, or we're making these choices of abandoning relationships even because we love ourselves. Write that down. I love myself, therefore I. And then whatever you fill in the blank there, that is reason enough to keep going, because or it's something that is high value because you love yourself. Next, of course, I love myself, therefore, because people who love themselves make completely different choices than people who are in self-loathing, self-anger, and self-hatred. And I listen, I'm not talking out my ass. I've been in self-anger, self-loathing, and self-hatred for most of my life. I could fill a whole 3-hour conversation on ways in which I learned to hate myself. And then once the people who hated me or despised me went away, they left me with me doing it to myself. I woke up every day beating myself up like a piñata. Did not love myself. I asked Tara last year on many prominent conversations, why do I hate myself? Fear, for those of you catching this later, Sway is saying, I need to say no to my fears. Fear is telling you something. Fear is not necessarily bad. There's I wouldn't turn off the intuitive parts of fear. Oh, yeah. Say more then. Say that. What old things like what? Just give me the highlights. If it's over, it can't touch you. The past is over, it can touch me not. The past is over, it can touch me not. The past is over, it can touch me not. The past is over, it can touch me not. The past is over, it can touch me not. So what? Oh yeah. When we recognize that our future can be brighter than our past, we can then love ourselves enough to move forward into it. Have you accepted the fact, Sway, that your future is brighter than your past? Can you accept that your future is going to be brighter than your past? Can you accept that your future is going to be better than your past? That you will not be reliving the past things that you went through, that your future is brighter. And you can use the art of allowing to let that in. Oh, keep going in that direction. Once again, like I told you in the pre-show, or the pre-live or pre-room, whatever you want to fucking call this, move at the speed of trust. Move at the speed of trust. Today I will trust myself more by. There you go. All right, last prompt. And thank y'all for hanging. These things always go over. I should make them an hour and a half. I don't know why I think that this is going to happen in an hour. I want it to happen in an hour, but we start digging in here and sharing and moving the mountains, and it ends up being an hour and a half. What's one thing that you learned tonight? What is one thing that you learned tonight? Sway learned that I need to engage more people. Yes. I'm safe to be me. I'm safe to be me. I am safe to be me. I am safe to be me. Davina says, one thing I learned is that love is a choice. Yes. Yes. Love is not only a choice, love is an open door. Love is an open door. I am safe to be me. I am safe to be me. I am safe to be me. Sway says, I am source and I have limitless energy. Yes. Yes. All right, let's do these closing affirmations, and then I will stop the recording and we can chat a bit, and then I can go and watch my Netflix and be fully in my joy. Here's a closing affirmation for those of you who are setting yourself free from being people pleasers, and for those of you who have perhaps felt in the past that you should feel guilty about saying no as a good person. Here is an affirmation to help you root and rise. Today, I release the belief that boundaries make me mean. Today, I release the belief that boundaries make me mean. Today, I release the belief that boundaries make me mean. My needs matter. My limits matter. My energy matters. I do not need to abandon myself to prove that I care. I do not need to abandon myself to prove that I care. I can be loving and honest. I can be kind and clear. I can say no without becoming a bad person. I can say no without becoming a bad person. I am loved. I am lovable. And my boundaries deserve respect. I'm loved. I'm lovable. And my boundaries deserve respect. I'll see y'all next week for People Pleasers Anonymous to RSVP, you can go to lovedandlovable.org, lovedandlovable.org, and sign up for text reminders. And I'll text you shortly before we get started and when we get started. Until next time, for those of you listening back on Spotify and YouTube and Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Substack, and all of the majors, on behalf of our donors and our sponsors, our clients, our friends, our members, and our bold dreamers all over the world, never forget to stay in your power, stay in your joy, and stay loved and lovable. And if you saw these folks up here on the screen tonight for the first time, send them some love as well. They have been faithfully here the entire time, sharing with us, and they're deeply and profoundly loved and lovable. They've always been, and they're always going to be, no matter what, no matter who. I'm Dr. Flo, not telling you what I heard, but what I know. Your dreams can come true if you ask, believe, and receive.